Hi, welcome to the Microsoft Technology Center in Houston and the new Envisioning Theater. This is an introductory training video on the Cyviz room control and video processing system. Cyviz and Microsoft have partnered to create the new digital envisioning theater with advanced visual collaboration technology. In this video, we'll cover how to connect various devices and video sources, visualize and share the content on the main LED video wall, as well as both the front and rear secondary displays, how to connect and participate in Microsoft Teams meetings, and control the room audio system. Let's review the components of the turnkey solution. First, you have the Cyviz Touch Monitor, which controls the video sources, the digital signage player, and the audio system. The Cyviz Touch Monitor works together with the video processor to enable you to show multiple video sources simultaneously on the main LED video wall and dynamically move and resize video sources via pinch and zoom touch. Next, the main video wall is fine pitch LED, offering a digital stage for content. Depending on the MTC Envisioning Theater, there are either 2 vignettes or 3 vignettes. Here we have 3 vignettes in Houston with a total resolution of over 8 megapixels, which is equal to 4K ultra high definition. Each vignette is a widescreen 16:9 area.
Then we have the secondary target displays, 3 at the front of house left, front of house center, and front of house right. They can display the same video content as the main display, or different video sources. And at the back, we have the rear target displays, left and right.
The audio solution includes 2 ceiling-mounted high-fidelity microphones and speakers. There are 4 wireless handheld mics and 4 wireless lapel mics. Additionally, there are voice uplift devices for hearing impaired. Finally, for Microsoft Teams, there is a Microsoft Team Room system mounted on the side wall for joining meetings and initiating content sharing into a meeting. Here we have the home screen for the Cyviz Touch Monitor. On the left-hand side, you can see Getting Started and the 4 shortcuts that we have. End Session, if you'd like to end a meeting, either by cleaning the video wall and getting ready for the next session, or hitting End Session and powering down the system. And then the About Room is where you get into advanced preference, functionality, and configuration options. Going back to the main home screen, this is where you have Getting Started, use Display Wall, invoking presets, using targets, which are the secondary LCD displays at the front and the back, or adjusting room equipment. And we're going to start by selecting Use Display Wall. What this gives me is a virtual representation of the main LED video wall, and currently there's no content sources on that display. So to share content, we're going to go to Add PIP. That's picture in picture, and this is where all the video sources that are available for this room are shown. Let's go through each category. The first one is floor boxes. You have 2 HDMI connections located at the front of stage on the left, 2 in the middle, and 2 on the right. They're all labeled and color-coded. Going back here, now if I click on 4 wins, there are 4 individual content players. So if I select one of these sources, it's going to appear here on the video wall, and I can now move and resize that content dynamically just using pinch and zoom touch on the touch monitor. And if I go back to Add PIP Source here, I can start adding other sources here. So I'm going to add another digital signage player source, and I'm going to move and resize that to the middle. And I'm going to go back to Add PIP, pick a third one here. So now on the display, I have 3 digital signage players, number 1, 2, and 3, shown up on the display, and I have the ability to move and resize them. I can also close them by clicking X on the top right there, and it now gets removed from the video wall. The next option I have here is called display sharing. What that does is it creates a shaded area, and whatever is within that area, let's say it's multiple content sources, so let me go back here and add another one. So now that we have 2, and whatever gets dragged into this shaded area gets sent out into another video source here in the room or into a Microsoft Teams meeting. So it's a convenient way of sharing multiple different video sources with a remote participant. If I go back here to add PIP, the next thing I have is wireless sharing. So if I select one of these sources, it's going to bring up Air Server. And this is a really easy way to share content from your laptop, a mobile smartphone, or a tablet. You just hold up the camera to the QR code there, and it'll give you instructions on how to join. Or with a laptop, you can connect to that Wi-Fi address by pressing Alt-K on your Windows machine, and that'll let you connect directly to the Air Server as well. Continuing on the video sources, I have two outputs coming from the Microsoft Team Room system that's here. The panel for that is located on the side of the video wall, but here I can select I'd like to have content or the video conference shown up on the video wall coming out from Teams. Next, we have wall plate left and wall plate right. These are HDMI connections, so if I select one of these where I have a laptop that's currently playing a video, I can move and resize that and put it here in the middle of the display. And that can be for laptops or other HDMI enabled devices. And then I have back of house, left and right. And then last I have the camera. So with the camera, I can have a view of what that looks like in the room. You're going to see a little bit of the cascading effect here because we're looking at ourselves, but I can control the pan, tilt, and zoom of the camera by clicking Control Camera there. And that allows us to make sure we have a great experience for a remote participant that's joining us through Teams. And then I can close out that camera view here in the room. So again, add PIP, picture in picture, is where all the different video sources are displayed. And we're going to now look next at how to create and edit presets. All right, let's take a look at the presets function. Presets is an area where all the previously created presets are shown in a list. And when I click on them here, it shows you a preview of what video source on what location has been saved, including the main front display as well as the target displays, because we have 3 LCD displays on the front and 2 in the back of house on the right and left. So if I go to display, where I've chosen I want content source 1, 2, and 3 in this location, here's where you'll see the Save Preset button. And when I say Save Preset, it'll invoke what type of preset do you want. Do you want it to be for an advanced presentation with the super slide functionality, or do you want standard preset? So we're going to start with preset here and come back to presentation mode. So save here allows me to come in and say, all right, I'd like to save this as demo 6, for example, hit OK. It will now give me preset options here. What's the name of the preset? Do I want to save the display wall layout? Yes. Do I want to save what the target secondary displays are? Yes. Camera settings, audio settings, and then if you have content coming from the digital signage player, this gives you a chance to say, yes, I'm confirming that I want that content from the digital signage player routed to these players. And then I can hit save. So to show this in action, I'm going to go to presets, select the clear display preset, which will clear all the video sources. And now when I go to presets and I select demo, which has 1, 2, and 3, as well as target display routings, I can say I would now like to use that preset. And on the video wall, it will route the video sources to the main video wall, to the secondary displays at the front, as well as the target displays in the back. Next, let's take a look at the targets functionality. When I click on targets, I see a representation of the target displays that are in the front, left, center, and right, and the back of house displays on the left and the right. The way you add sources here is you click in the middle of these and it'll bring up the video content sources. So here, if I want to go and select 4 Winds, digital player number 1, it will route that here. And again, if I select the middle, 4 Winds, player number 2, you can now say it's 1, 2, and it says what video source it's coming from. On the back of the house, I can also go in here and select content and have it mirrored The back of house is particularly helpful for putting Microsoft Teams meetings so that when someone is presenting, they can see the audience and the remote participants and any content that they may be sharing into the meeting. Here you see the target TVs, that's the first option. Wall plates, you can also route video sources to the wall plates located around the room. And this is helpful if you have a secondary display like a Surface Hub or some other video display that you'd like to route a source to. Here again, you just tap to select the source and the different video sources come up here and you can then route that to the HDMI output located at these wall displays. The last option here is Teams presentation, and here is what the room is outputting into a Microsoft Teams meetings that a remote participant would view. So if, for example, you say, all right, I would now like you to see the Four Winds player number 2 that's shown here, that is what is screen shared into the Microsoft Teams meeting. So here you see the different options. You'll also note that there's a save preset function here for targets as there was for display. So I can go to save preset and it's a shortcut the same exact way if I was in display and I said save preset, it brings me into the same area. So that is the targets section. The next area we're going to take a look at is control room. When you select control room, this gives you the option to manage the keyboard, which is shared in the room, the 4 individual Four Winds players, and a 4-wind player dedicated to the main source. So let's go through each section. For the keyboard, you have a left floor box, center, and right. Currently, we have the keyboard routed and plugged in to the floor box in the center. And here, if I click change source, this is where I can go and interact with the PCs that are the digital signage player for 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's a convenient way of sharing a keyboard and mouse across all the different devices, the main source as well as the individual players. For getting content from the digital signage player, there's a server in Azure that has the Four Winds digital signage application, and you have categories, subcategories, and scenarios. And here, any MTC that you go to worldwide has the same exact content. So if I say, all right, for Four Winds player number 1, 2, and 3, I want to have different content, let's go to display, and I'm going to bring up the preset that we had earlier, where it has the Four Winds player 1, 2, and 3. So now we've brought up our preset that we created earlier. So I've got Four Winds player 1, 2, and 3, and it's under control room is where you change the content. So if I go to Four Winds player number 1 here, say general, subcategory, image, it shows a preview here. Or if I go into industry, let's say manufacturing, it's going to show me a preview. So I'm going to take this image and say I'd like it to go to Four Winds player number 1, and you'll see it come up on the display. And now I'm going to continue this. Four Winds player number 2, I'm going to say industry here, manufacturing, CES, the second picture here, and it gets routed there. And I'll finish that Four Winds player number 3. I'm going to say industry, manufacturing, and have a third image. And it can either be images or videos that come from the digital signage player. And you see there's 4 individual ones here. You'll also notice there's a Four Winds player main wall full. So we have, for the video wall, the ability to put individual sources, or if I X out of those, you'll notice it says main source. And there's currently a video playing on that main source, and that can be a background that a pip plays over. So if I bring up one of the other pictures, I can move and resize a video source over the background that's here. So this is a unique capability for advanced video processing. So let's change the content that's playing on the main source. You do that under control room and the Four Winds player for the main source. And here you have content specifically created to take up the entire screen real estate. So if I go in here and I say, all right, general videos, it's currently playing on option number 3. I'm going to change it to option number 2. And now a video comes up that takes up the entire video wall. And you see it's formatted for high resolution. Or if I want to change it to the first video, I select that. So you can see Four Winds player on the left, and what video or images would I like. Something that's very popular here is the ability to have a background for user stories. Let's say you take industry and you select healthcare, and I have a background. So here's a user story and journey from left to right, and you can now put video sources on top of this. So if you wanted to show, for example, a wireless content source and have that show over this story and show a live demo of a Microsoft application or hardware device, you can now do that in the context of this user story. So you have the ability to have video layers of the background video or background image on the main source, and then a video source overlaying that you can move and resize anywhere you like on the video wall. Next, we're going to take a look at joining a Microsoft Teams meeting from the room. Each of the Envisioning theaters has a Microsoft Team Room system located on a wall plate on the side of the video wall or on a side wall. We're going to join a meeting normally from there, and the meeting then shows up by having a pip for the video and a pip for the content on the video wall, and you get to choose how you'd like that to look on the video wall. In terms of the content and the video side by side, you can have that both on the main video wall, on the secondary displays, or on the side target displays. As a reminder, when you're in a Microsoft Teams meeting, you go to Targets and Teams Presentation to select the video source that you would like shared from the room into the Teams meeting for remote participants to see. So you tap to select source and you choose from the video sources. Let's say you're currently sharing the Four Winds player, source number 2 is the primary content in the room. You can then also say, this is the content I would like to allow go into the Teams room meeting for remote participants to see. All right, now let's discuss the audio system in the space. You have ceiling microphones, you have handheld wireless microphones, you have lapel microphones, but let's go through it step by step. First is here under display is the master audio volume for the room. Regardless of the audio source, that controls how loud the audio is through the ceiling speakers. If you click on the hamburger menu for any video source, you'll see options come up here. Some is for how that video source should be displayed. Most of the time you'll leave these unchecked, but you have options for intelligent, full screen, force aspect ratio, or visible. Audio is if you'd like to have audio from that video source playing into the room and the speakers, and you can check and uncheck that here through the menu. In terms of advanced audio features, like the wireless handheld mics, to control that, you go to Home, About Room, Preferences, and here we have more advanced configuration options. We recommend checking back with the central MTC management team before making any changes here, but for your awareness, you have advanced functionality options here for configuration, and it's here under Audio Inputs that you can adjust the audio input levels for the different wireless microphones, handheld and lapel, as well as the ceiling-based microphones. And then this is also where the master audio output level is set. So this is under the Options and Preferences section. All right, let's take a look at one of the new advanced features we've developed with Microsoft called SuperSlide. What this is the ability to have a background on the main source for the different industries that you'd like to tell a user journey from. So let's queue one of those up. I'm going to go to Control Room, select the main wall, and I'm going to go to General and pick one of the industries here. So this is healthcare, and this is going to bring up the user story and is now on the main source. So I go back here on the main source, we have the digital signage player showing healthcare. So I'm going to now go to Save Preset, and I'm going to say I would like to use the presentation function versus the individual preset. Because under presentations, I can now have multiple presets that I can queue up in order, slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, and have a sequence of video sources appear in the right location on the video wall. So I'm going to say save as new presentation, and I'm going to call this demo 2, and I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to say, what's the first scene name? So you can call this a scene, or I'm just going to call these slides. So this is slide 1. And I can then go through here and say, what options do I want for display? Yep, save the wall layout. For the target displays, yes, I want you to save the settings that I have for the 3 front target displays and the 2 back displays. Camera settings, do you want to save that or not? Audio, do you want to save the audio settings? And then content players, this is an important step as part of the presentation mode. You want to reaffirm content that's on the players or on the main wall. So since I have content for the industry, I'm going to make sure to hit save that. And now when I hit save, it's created this new presentation for me. If I go to presets, you'll see here under presentations is where demo 2 has shown up. And it currently just has 1 slide, 1 scene, and it shows what do I have on the target TVs and on the main source. So let's go back to display, and I'm going to now add a video source to this. So I go to the 4 Winds player, and I click 4 Winds player number 2, and I'm going to move and resize this in the starting location of where I want it on the video wall. And you certainly have the ability to manually move this during a presentation, but what the presentation mode does as part of Super Slide is it remembers the locations and types the video source, and then you can control that through the clicker here or through the touchscreen. So let's save this as our slide number 2. So I'm going to say save preset, add to the existing presentation that we created. Here are all the different presentations. So this is part of demo 2. Currently only has 1 slide, and I'm going to say save. And I'm going to call this slide 2 as part of that. I have the options here again to reaffirm. So since I have content coming in 2 places, one, I want the background content still, and I want the content that's on the player 2 digital signage player. I'm reaffirming that content, and I'm going to hit save. And now if I go back to presets and I go to demo 2, I now have 2 slides, the first slide and the second slide with that video source there. But let's keep going this. We're going to move different sources into the location in the middle and on the right, so we have our whole scene and a story here. So I'm going to go back to display. I'm going to close this. I'm now going to add a pip, and I've got some healthcare content running. This is a video, so I'm going to move it here. It's coming in from the Wallplate. So I'm going to put that into the middle, and this is a good example of showing a video overlaid against the background. And I'm now going to hit save, add to existing presentation. I'm going to go down and again pick demo 2. It's got 2 slides, and I'm about to add a 3rd one to it. So here I hit save. I'm going to pick slide 3 for that. Same options here along the left, and the most important one, if you have content coming from the digital signage players, is now I want to make sure that I just keep the content in the background for this healthcare industry, and I'm going to hit save. So now if I go to presets and I go demo 2, I have the initial slide, I have the second slide with the 4 Winds player on the left, and I've added the slide with a video coming from a Wallplate laptop. But let's finish it out with a 3rd different video source on the right, and that'll be our last slide. So if I go back to display, I'm going to close that video source, select add pip, and let's say I wanted to have wireless sharing as my last pip, and I will do a live demo from that. That's coming from the Air server. So now I go back to save preset. Again, I go to add to existing presentation. I go to the presentation that I want, demo 2. You can see here I've got 1, 2, 3 slides. I'm about to add the 4th and final one. So I pick save. I'm going to put here slide 4, hit OK. Again, I go through the options here. I want to have the background content still on the main source, and I'm going to hit save. And now if I go to presets and I click on demo 2, I have my 4 slides, and I can do a preview here. The main source, content number 1 there, content number 2, and content number 3. And if I were now to invoke this, so let's say I close this source and I go back to presets, I pick demo 2, and I'd say I'd like to actually go through my presentation. I can go through it through the controller like this, so an executive or a presenter can very discreetly be going through the presentation, or you can do it through the touch controller. So if I select Start Presentation, it'll bring up the first scene, and then as I go through here and I say Next Scene, it'll bring the content source up and the location and from the source that I want. If I click Next Scene here, it'll go to the middle location, and this is our video. And then if I press the clicker here or the touchscreen, it goes to the final video source, and that's going to bring up our air server for a live demo from the application. So this again is under Presets, Presentations, also known as the Super Slide functionality, and it's one of those things you definitely want to play with, do a couple different tests, and then go through and become familiar with the sequence of having multiple presets. Okay, one of the things we're going to take a look at is the main source PC. This will normally be running the 4 Winds digital signage player that you control under the setting of control room, but you can also drop out of the digital signage player and into the Windows 10 PC. If I go here to display settings, you'll see that the resolution of the entire video wall is 6912 by 1296, that's 8 megapixels, equal to a 4K ultra high definition resolution. And this is a standard Windows 10 PC with an upgraded NVIDIA graphics card. And what it lets you do is you can run applications like this one that are built for extreme super ultra wide. So this right here, for example, is a 195 gigapixel image of Shanghai, China. And you see the ability of zooming in at an extreme level of detail and taking advantage of the full screen real estate that's here on the video wall. So applications that are intelligent enough to auto expand will fill up the entire screen. One of those is Microsoft Bing Maps, where you can move and resize the image here. So we've got Houston, and we can zoom all the way in with an extreme amount of detail into the Houston area using Bing Maps. Another example would be this application here. This is Flight Radar 24. This lets you see all active flights worldwide through this advanced data visualization. You can even click on flights and see where they're originating from, what type of aircraft they are. Another application example would be windy.com. This is great for weather, and you have all kinds of different views on how to view the weather. Here I can pop here, for example, like radar, and say, okay, show me active storms that are going on. If you'd looked at this a couple days ago, you'd have seen the hurricane moving its way up the coast of the Northeast. So just some quick examples of the kind of content you can have, essentially anything that runs on a Windows PC, but optimized for the ultra-wide display.
Now, if you're finished with doing things on the main PC and you want to get back into invoking the 4 Winds digital signage player for the main source PC, you do this by going to the Start menu in Windows and scrolling down through the applications. There you'll see 4 Winds Interactive and the Content Player. Once you click on the Content Player, it will initialize the application and load 4 Winds. It'll auto-size to the size of the LED video wall. On the Cyviz Touch monitor, under Control Room is where you invoke the digital media content. So if I go to the Control Room and select Media Content, it'll bring it back up on the player through the digital signage application.